Many people always want to understand what fraud is. We've heard about fraudsters, scammers, just to mention but a few. And top of mind this week for me, I wanted us to look at fraud as a topic as a whole. More reason being, we're expecting the Fraud Awareness Week. And I thought fraud as a topic is broad. But now you coming in and creating time has really made me and also our viewers to expect something to learn when it comes to matters to do with fraud.
Yeah, thanks for that, and thanks for having me here to speak about fraud. Of course, it's a big topic in the world, not necessarily in Kenya.
Yeah.
And of course, we need to demystify, and of course to understand what it means, of course, and of course in terms of what do we need to do as an individual, or even as a society, or as a populace, or as everyone else in this world.
Yeah.
So of course, by defining fraud, it is a means of gaining something out of deception. So I think the main word here is deception.
Deception is the key word.
Exactly. The deception is the key word, whereby you deceive to get something from someone. Of course, here we are talking about money. You deceive someone to get to gain out of deceiving that person.
Yeah.
And of course, it's unlawful.
Yeah.
Getting something from someone through deception is unlawful. So, and that's majorly what we can say primarily what fraud means. And of course, here we are talking of money.
Okay.
Majorly. So that's exactly what I would first of all explain fraud, but as we go along, we'll get more deeper.
I remember I love talking to my dad. Me upiga na story any day, every day.
Yes.
And he gave me a story of how people could use deception, and he used the institution of marriage as one of the ways that people can easily deprive you of your property.
Yes.
On a light note, that is.
Yes.
So wewe umesema ya kwamba unaenda kulipa mahari.
Yes.
Mtu anaitisha farasi, mtu anaitisha nini.
Yes.
So I want us to look into how this fraud started, the history.
Yes.
Kitambo watu walikuwa naibiwa aje? How were people being defrauded during the ancient days? And then now we bring it step by step to now the modern days. Because we've seen incidences of checks. Yeah, and things like that. Probably you can shed a light on that so that we can understand.
Of course, as you have mentioned, of course, we can start from, maybe those ancient days.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't have money, of course. But we had, of course, we are saying livestock and etc. Yeah, and maybe somebody would bring you. Let's say you are to bring, like they have just put on a good example. You bring some mahari or whatever the case may be.
Kumbe hiyo mahari.
Yeah, maybe it may be a mahari, for example.
Yeah.
Basically somebody has been told to bring an arm and leg, for example.
Yes.
And you want this person.
Yeah.
So of course, what do? Of course, you'll go and steal somebody's chicken or whatever the case may be. In this case, like now, it was livestock. And of course, you heard about those the days of Maasai and of course Kikuyus.
Yeah.
When people are the warriors going to steal those whatever. But now coming to what now we know of ourselves and maybe what is vivid or maybe to resonate with all of us.
Yes.
We look at the ancient times, not very ancient, but of course about the 90s, for example, whereby then the involvement of fraud started. Of course, what I can bring to fore is the check fraud that they had just hinted on that.
Yeah.
Of course, those days, even it was, remember when you were paying Kenya Power, you could write a check. When you were paying for water, you were paying for school fees, you could do a check. So, and of course, checks meant personal checks, and of course, we have bankers' checks.
Yes.
So, if I may start with the fraud on personal checks.
Yes.
We used to have those frauds of substitution. And what I mean by substitution is a check that was destined to pay for some X company. It ends up in somebody's a different account, not what it was destined to. So of course this person will have opened an account where the check will be deposited to, but of course the person who will be deprived of is the drawer of the check, who is the owner of that account that is appearing on that check. Of course, of course, the fraud evolved again of check, and that was, I think, that was the classical example that we had those days, whereby you could have somebody steal a checkbook from yourself. I can give an example or two examples whereby, of course, you could carry checks home, for example, checkbooks home, or even when you are in your office bag, maybe you have gone somewhere. Maybe like having a drink or two, or even a car wash, whereby you'll find, I mean,
to checkbook
kwa gari, maybe maybe there's a guy who you trust to be washing your car, but of course there are those guys who could know that these guys are working in an office, so they'll be hanging around the car wash, and of course they will be asking, what document have you seen there? Because maybe the person who is watching your vehicle might not be very literate, but there's people who could be on those hanging in those areas, whereby now they'll be asking, what have you seen? Have you seen a checkbook for X bank, for example? Then of course they might not steal the whole book, they'll just pluck a few leaves from the root, because a checkbook is usually very well fastened, so they'll just steal, not even following the check numbers. So of course they will write for themselves some amounts there. They will have gotten a signature, maybe from a previous check that you had written, or even from the bank itself. Maybe it would be a connivance of
an insider job.
So because they have get a check, but even those days you could see a check whereby, like for small amounts, I could pass through even where there's no signature. For example, if you are paying Kenya Power and Lighting, it's a small amount. If you're paying like Nairobi Water, for example, for those utilities. But of course, because of the amounts that were involved, maybe the owner of the check might not realize immediately, but maybe after some progressive withdrawals, or those attempts, or rather, I mean, successful attempts. Of course, when the person, I remember those days we never had SMSs.
We didn't even have phones.
Correct. In fact, the person who had a phone, maybe it was costing I don't know how much, but we didn't have the cellular forms that we see, whereby even the technology has not even evolved, whereby you could connect your transaction to an SMS to your number, so whereby you could be able to see that have been debited. Then you can quickly call the contact center, you can quickly contact your bank. So you find that at that point when the customer was coming to check his or her balance, depending maybe if you're a businessman and of course the money is flowing to your account, you might not tell how much you have. So until maybe you get your bank statement, which used to be run end of the month, you get a physical statement, then you go tick back, you check back whether...
And you had to go physically to the bank.
Exactly. You have to go in fact, the statement was being deposited into a post office box. So maybe even the people at the post office box, post office office, they could also be... We had cases where they were stealing the customer statements. So by you could not even get your... because you know they had numbers. You could have from sheet 1 to sheet end number. So if you... Maybe they know that they have, maybe the transaction have maybe filled up your statement, so you find your statement disappearing from there. We might not know, so might not even be able to reconcile. Maybe until the end of the year when you get the full statements, and maybe if you have an auditor to do for you, is when you are going to know that hey, my money has been stolen. So it made everything very difficult for such check holders to know that they have been defrauded.
Because most of the systems were more or less manual.
Actually, they were manual. I remember even from the clearing of those days, it was not digital. Nowadays, we are using electronic journals. Those days, you could move. If you are from X financial institution and Y financial institution, you had to move physically with the checks for that particular bank
to the other.
Then you go exchange. Then of course you reconcile, because if you have like $1 million worth of checks for X bank, then you need to exchange. They give you also $1 million worth of your bank's checks in the other side, and that's why I talked about substitution, and it used to happen that point being done by the bank officials, because they met in the clearing house with boxes physically, so there was no issue of transmission of information through electronic, where you confirm now, then the image will be transmitted electronically.
Yeah.
So that's the involvement of that.
Looking at how it has evolved so far, there was a time when there was a spike in, skimming, where, the cards used to have the magnetic strip, and then people would use skimmers, those devices that copy the data that is in those in the plastic cards.
Yes.
And I know it has changed over time, but I want you to shed a light a bit more on how that has evolved so far and how people used to do it, so that we are able to see. I know most banks have shifted to the microchip, but it's a way that people used to defraud people, and it's good for people to be aware. Shed a light on that.
Yeah, thanks for that. Of course, even in terms of plastic fraud, stroke card fraud, it has also come from far. Remember those days we used to have cards. They didn't have we only had the mag stripe.
Yeah.
We didn't have the chip you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So and we used to have a lot of skimming those days, because you were able to read the customer data easily from the mag strip. Yeah. So you could hear of skimming devices being installed on ATMs.
Yes.
Even the teams that we had that time, they were not compliant with what we are seeing today. Yes. So you'll find that most of the banks had to change all their ATMs to comply with the new order.
Yeah.
But coming to your question and where the scheme, the plastic fraud started, those fraudsters, and mostly they were Bulgarians.
Yeah.
You must have seen, have heard, it is on record, whereby we had Bulgarians who were caught in the city with the 140 cards, in their pocket. And of course, what the other guys would do, they'll come and put their devices. They come and skim your ATM.
So they're just collecting data.
And of course, what they used to do, you see the green, when you insert your card, it used to be a green slot.
Yes.
So they'll come and put another one, but you cannot tell.
Yeah.
So you have to come and maybe try to shake the ATM like this. You see there's something that is going to fall off. But the device has on the mouth, it has a reader. So, and this information was stored electronically.
Yeah.
It could be either stored on a gadget. They could still store on the ATM. Remember, the ATM also you have to put your PIN.
Yes.
And of course, they had put a pseudo keyboard on the top of the ATM, whereby you could tap your PIN.
Yes.
If you try to type it, they're able to read it.
And
of course, when you put your card, they're able to connect. This card was for
this.
This card. This PIN was for this card. That information could be read there on the ATM, or we had instances during my investigation life. We had cases whereby they had even gone higher, whereby they could read the information using infrared. When you are at the ATM withdrawing, they'll just be on a mall, seated on a vehicle, closely to, of course, where the ATM, a few meters where the ATM is. And of course, they could read the information, and of course, later they will make what you have heard called white plastics.
Yeah.
Not having
it's like
any logo.
They are cloning your.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the word. Yeah. They clone that. Then of course they'll be putting. There's a pin. They'll just put it with a tape. This pin was for this card, so they'll be now having those pack of cards. Then of course when you go to ATM, you'll find a person is staying there for more than even 20 minutes withdrawing. Of course they'll go for the maximum. Yeah. So they withdraw for, I don't know, for international cards, for example, whereby before the settlement is done and ETC is done.
Takes time.
It takes time. The money has already gone out.
By the time you realize all the money has gone.
Exactly.
Let's fast forward to now the emerging trends.
Yes.
We've looked at how it was done before. We've talked about the schemers and how different fraudsters and schemers, how they work. When you're looking at how it has emerged recently, we've seen the new era of fraud. Probably through your experience, maybe you can mention how this has been in terms of the new era kind of fraud.
Yeah, of course. What is the biggest threat in any organization? Be it any organization, financial institutions, any institution that you can think of, even a school.
Yeah.
The people, the biggest threat is internal people, which we call it internal fraud.
Yeah.
So the people who are employed, they are the biggest threat in an organization. So why am I saying that? And I want to put into perspective. So internal fraud is mostly the highest, for example, because it's perpetrated by the people who are within, and until you have proper systems to detect them or rule them out, they'll be stealing from you and they're just looking at you like this. Yeah. So internal fraud, of course, if I may mention the examples, of course, it involves the manipulation of financial statements, because these are the people who are working on these documents, for example. Yeah. I mean, so they are able to manipulate data in terms of if you are in charge of considerations of, let's say, of a ledger, for example. Yeah. Internal ledger for any school or any company. So you're able to go in there, so you just put figures there, which are, just to make sure they are balancing. But of course, in terms of the money that the actuals, it is not there. Yeah. Of course, it's even done by the executive, in terms of when they want to manipulate the financial status of a company, so that it looks good. Of course, to the eyes of the shareholders, for example, even investors, even the financiers. Yes. So even to gain a higher bonus, for example. Yes. So they have to show that we are having a healthy kind of account or financial status of an organization. But internally, when it is checked properly, you find there are a lot of gaps inside. Yeah, of course, there's an element of embezzlement, of course, manipulation of invoices. Yeah, for example, even whereby you are claiming, like now if we have those, you're claiming a mileage, of course, that we have not. I mean, you inflate. Yeah. Of course, you bring a receipt that maybe you never even incurred an expense on it. Yeah. So basically, internal fraud is there. So we can come to also digital frauds now that it's happening. Now this is what we are seeing. Because remember, even in the yesteryears, the same people who also informed me that internal fraud of checks, for example. So they are still growing up as we go along. But now still we have gone now digital. Digital frauds, which I think it is a pain point. It's a headache to any organization.
It's all over. It's all over. And you know how? And so to cut you short. Yes. Digital fraud actually is a pain in many people's homes, because you never know where it's going to attack you from. Yes. And by use of these digital platforms, you can use it for good, but there are those people out there who also use it for a lot of bad. So many unsuspecting citizens get to become victims because they do not know. So I really understand what you're saying, and it's important that you shed now more light onto now this digital fraud. Yes,
digital frauds. We have the major that it's in the people's mind. It's all over in the dailies. Yeah. Social engineering. We have social engineering. Whereby, of course, everybody now is a user of a phone, for example, user of a computer, for example, or of course even the phone is a computer, nonetheless. Yeah. So, but of course, we are seeing an increase day by day, whereby customers or citizens are duped by those fraudsters. They're like, they'll call you, I'm calling from X bank. I want to, so they take you step by step. They tell you there's an OTP that has come to your phone. So unknowingly, you'll be lured, taken up to the point whereby you're going to input your PIN number. Of course, talking of social engineering, what I have seen, they have targeted, especially the senior citizens. Whereby they'll be called, they'll be telling we are calling from this X bank, and your card is expiring, or they call you, tell you that we are calling you in from a telco, that your number is being reallocated to somebody else. So you need to give us your maybe even your PIN of the
your ATM card.
Of the ATM card. Of course, there are many data leakages whereby in terms of the IDs even the social to come up to fruition. These data leakages either internally from those organizations or even from whereby you record the information. Like now when I came to this building, I recorded my ID, for example.
Yes.
Yeah. So at my phone number. So if that information is not protected, it can be misused.
Yes.
Look at the information for elections, for example, or even the information that we feel. So there's a lot of data leakages somewhere, and of course that fraudsters are using the same information to come and sojourner the people, and of course later you find that your money has been wiped from the bank, for example. They even first of all they will even swap your number, so that even you don't get the SMS that we had talked earlier, whereby those days we used to have SMSs. But currently, they even go on a notch higher to take over your number. The number will be off air, maybe in the evening, for example. But to see these the workings of even the telco people.
It has to have a team of people working together.
Correct.
And you brought up a very critical issue about the SIM swap fraud, which has been also a pain point.
Correct.
I remember just a few weeks ago, we had incidences where you have your number, but it's not functional. And it only takes a matter of minutes. And when you think that, you want to get your line back, you're trying to call and or you're trying to check your account and nothing is happening, the mistake that people did is that they switched it off. So basically, you're granting the schemers access to your account, and SIM swap is something that I'm sure you also can expound more, so that people can understand what do we mean by the SIM swap fraud, and also what they can do to prevent themselves from being victims. Another thing that I think will also shed a light into is how practically can people tell the red flags when somebody wants to defraud them as a person and also as an institution.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's start with SIM swap fraud.
Fine, no problem. One thing you've mentioned about your phone going off air for like even a minute. For a fraudster, even 10 seconds
is a lot of time.
It's a lot of time. They can wipe your account in 10 seconds. So, a minute is a lot of time. In fact, they don't even require that kind of time.
Yeah.
So SIM swaps happen whereby your number is taken over. That's basically what SIM swap means. They swap your number.
Yeah.
But of course, this would happen through the social engineer you. They call you, they tell you so and so, this is your number, this is your ID number. So you want your PIN because they want to, there's some maybe a change in the telco or whatever, or the case may be, or the bank or whatever the case may be. So they take over your number.
Yeah.
So but the moment the time they are taking into that circus, of course that time you are not now you're not control of your SIM card.
Yeah.
So the other issue is about when we have the telcos people themselves doing the SIM swap, even the agents who are all over the towns.
Yes.
We have seen cases whereby they have been done the SIM swaps.
Yes.
So at that point they are going to make the SIM card that is in your phone will be rendered useless.
Yeah, it will be redundant.
It will be redundant. So they will be operating now with that new SIM card to defraud you. Yeah. Of course, they will have got information maybe from of course with connivance with the bank staff or whatever institution staff it will be. Yeah. So they'll be having information. Even the people do the payroll in the organizations because they have your account number.
It has to start from somewhere.
Yeah. So and of course the payroll, even whatever your organization pays you, of course it has the bank itself, whatever bank it is, and your account number. Yeah. So this information already is in somebody. It will be either from that institution itself, or even from another source.
Yeah.
So what they do now, that information now they use it now to know that now this number, this ID number. This person has an account in X place. Yes. So of course now they're able now to get in to the platform. Of course they know we have various USSDs for various institutions.
Yes.
Whereby you are able to go into your can get to my account. It could be either through the internet banking itself, the platform, or the USSD. So if they have the USSD, they are all over. USSD is public information.
Yes.
For various institutions, you can go there and check USD for this bank, USD for this bank. Then from there, you're able now to marry. You can go now if you have the people from this bank A. You're able now to go to the USSD, then try to check whether of course, they could be chancing to check whether they have balances in their accounts.
Yes.
So that now from there they can be able to. Of course, this money now after they get into your. I call it getting to your matumbo. You know, now they're already inside. It's
they're already inside.
Like somebody like the people that say they're already inside your body, for example. They can do anything. So of course now the money will just be transferred out, either through other mobile numbers for the fraudsters, for example. Or it may be through.
They can even bounce from bank to bank.
Actually, they do that. We also have through Pesalink and RTC, for example. And you have heard of the mulot guys. I mean, it has been all over the news, and of course, it's a menace it's a threat to the financial institution. So, and of course, those guys, I think they don't care. So, of course, if you find the numbers that they are sending money to, they are from that area. You know, for the guys, generally, you're finding that where the money is moving to, generally is in that region. So, it has been a pain point. Because of course, when people have gotten into your account, they have said they have gone to your matumbo, they can transfer money out, then immediately that money also leaves. So because you have seen cases whereby the money that is sent,
and you can't reverse it in any way.
In fact, you cannot. If it goes to another number, then even the telco cannot reverse for the other person, because remember this was not the original, the first destination. So there's a whole issue of, or even it is withdrawn from an agent. So, and of course, when the money is withdrawn from an agent, because as I told you, it is a lot for a fraudster. So they cannot steal money to just have it in their phone or in their account. They don't have that luxury. So it is money taken in and goes out. Yes.
Still on the same note about the SIM swap and how they are able to do that. One thing that I've come to realize is that many people don't realize that it's important for you to also have a two-step verification system. Even just make it a habit of being able to verify your own account. You find somebody uses the same password or the same PIN for the bank, it's the same PIN for the SIM card, it's the same PIN or password for their email and things like that, which makes it so easy for adversaries to profile you as a victim. And some people don't realize this, but that is why when somebody targets one of your assets, let's say they are targeting the money stored in your phone through a telco, they're able to get to your bank, they're able to get to your savings. Why? Because you did not take that step of actually changing the kind of passwords that you put. So I just wanted to shed a light on that, because many people end up giving out information. Once they get any signs of weakness and you give out your information in terms of a password, that's the same password that will be replicated to defraud you in every other place that you store your money. We've looked at how the modern day fraudsters handle. I'm very concerned with the victims of these fraudulent cases.
Yes.
And remember we mentioned that they target the elderly because probably they're not as tech savvy as the youth are. So we have our elders who probably mtu alilima shamba yake ya kahawa, alilima mahindi, alilima miwa, and they have been putting their savings, and probably at some point they even forgot, even to an extent of probably their pensions, and they put them in an account, and that account was dormant because probably by the time they were doing it, it was redundant.
Yes.
And remember, in the ancient times, there were times when people could have joint accounts and things like that. They have proven to be a target for fraudsters, these dormant accounts. So mtu alifungua account kitambo but akaacha. Or this was an account that was meant to do a particular project, but probably due to one reason or the other, it hasn't been active. And they're also falling victim of fraud. Tell us more about it. How does it happen, and how can people be aware of fraudsters targeting dormant accounts, be it through telco or be it through the banks, because at some point people lose numbers and then they renew. It's not like this time round when you can have you can replace the same number you had. Long ago we used to have, you replace with a different number, so probably you had some funds in that number that you replaced. What happens to it, and how can fraudsters use it to target you and defraud you?
Yeah, let me start on the financial institution side. Of course, various institutions have their way of managing their dormant accounts, and of course there's the tenure that account falls. I mean, depending on the systems that whatever institution is using. So, but of course, I mean, if you don't transact for, but the definition of what is a dormant account, if you don't transact for X number of months, of course your account will go dormant. If there are no maybe funds coming or whatever the case may be. So in this scenario where we have these dormant accounts, of course there is a way they are managed, I believe, in the various institutions. And of course when an account, just when it is, there are reports that comes out. So, and of course, if before their accounts falls dormant, there should be efforts to reach for this person. To know, maybe as you have mentioned, people change numbers, for example. There should be this, what we call like a KYC refresh, that is new customer refresh, whereby they need to trace this person, maybe to know, maybe to get the current address, for example, or the contacts, so that they're able now to contact maybe the person or the next of kin. Because remember, even when when the account falls dormant, at one point the money will fall to another category, which we call unclaimed assets, and now that money still again it will go to move out from there for the bank. But I know before that process happens, there are efforts to trace these owners of these funds. Not that they cannot even claim them if they have left to unclaimed assets. There's an authority that does deals with that. It can also be done here to make sure that even before it went to that scenario or that route, like even dormancy I've just mentioned, they try to look for this person, maybe to trace the last known address. Maybe it will be an account that is has a what we call in banking relationship manager. So it is that portfolio that is managed by that relationship manager should be able to know where are my customers, for example, and why is it that this person now maybe is not transacting anymore. It could be, or she could be in the hospital, could be now is incapacitated, for example. So now the other process now kicks in.
Well, now they're looking for the next of kin and things like that.
Yes, and maybe if it is a need for KYC refresh, for example, assuming now the churning of numbers that you are saying, or even nowadays don't even use PO box, have changed. So you have now to look at this person now, what would be the last known address for this person, for example.
When you're looking at now how talking about the dormant accounts, how can fraudsters victimize and not really victimize, but how can they profile an account that according to them they feel like dormant and exploit? And what can somebody who is a layman, what can they do in order to understand that they can fall victim? And this one I'm talking about, we have grandparents and we have elderly people who probably do not know that they even had an account of something. What can they do in order to just check and find out whether they have probably their assets or their money in unclaimed assets, in terms of evading or avoiding being a target for fraudsters, targeting that account that has been dormant for some time?
Of course, if this period maybe on depending on the bank or different institutions, but I'm looking at a scenario whereby if you suspect that your dad, for example, or your grandfather had an account in X bank, I think it's a prerogative. Maybe you can come to visit the bank, You tell them, but this maybe if the old man or the old woman is leaving, maybe you come with the person. Then you come with the ID there. I'm just trying to be outside thinking about outside the box. Then they can check. Then from there, if there are other process that follows, which can be followed, which they are in place, they can now explore that, and then maybe now they can be told by the bank, you need to do X, Y, Z. You need to maybe appoint what you call POA, power of attorney, for example.
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, I think even as our guardians now, as they get old, I think you may need to know which institutions are they associated with. So that now, if they are getting maybe, they can get, what do you call it, dementia, or whatever the case may be. You should have a way of like continuity, maybe appointing a POA, for example, who now can be running the account, for example, on behalf, or maybe have a way of maybe make sure that the funds are safe and not even the account get dormant, for example, or even the account goes out there as an unclaimed, for example. That is my loud thinking.
I think so too, because most people really don't follow up. Especially with the elderly and the parents and things like that. So it's important for them also to have keen interest on seeing whether or not, even for themselves. Some people did open their accounts probably when they are in high school, but now...
Or they're open for by their parents as junior, they're called junior accounts.
Yeah, junior accounts, but they don't know. And I'm sure as long as you don't check it, then that means you become a victim of or a target for fraudsters.
Allow me also to add something on that breath. This also should be also, I think, follow even for deceased customers.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's also, I think I want to highlight because even if, even if they are, even the deceased customers, they could have accounts, or deceased guardians could have accounts. So I think is a way we need to, even before we reach there, we need to have kind of checked and seen. We know this person has an account there, for example. So when there's a person deceased, you're able now to bring all those rate of grants and etc. So I think it's also, I think that I wanted to mention.
It's important.
Even for deceased. Because you find somebody who die, and of course, like where I come from, they don't disclose everything that you have.
You keep it to yourself.
You keep it to yourself. Yes.
As we wind up, I wanted us to look at now for businesses.
Yes.
We're going into the Fraud Awareness Week.
It is starting from next week on 17th, I think, through to 24th of November 2024. That's true.
And what can you tell people about it? How is the experience in terms of, why fraud awareness? Why is it important for Kingsley and and Charles to understand fraud?
I think first of all of us, it might not sit pretty that fraud cannot happen. And of course, it can also not to be like 0%, for example. So I think as emerging trends evolve, because now we are going to AI, artificial intelligence. So I think it is going to be even be more complex. When we are going to use robots and etc. So I think it's we need to keep up with what is happening around us, because remember what is happening now in Europe, for example. It is still coming back. It will come to Africa, and more so closer home to Kenya, in Nairobi. So it's a high time that you need to see ahead what's happening in other areas, see what is ailing them the other side in terms of frauds. Of course, in terms of advancement of technology and etc. Then how do we safeguard ourselves here through trainings, through having monitoring systems, whereby we can have like systems just seeing that this out of Kingsley is transacting out of pattern all of a sudden. So we need to first of all see what has changed. Maybe there could be some influx in some funds that have come in, which are fraudulent. So we need to see if this guy was saying that he was selling mitumbas. Then all of a sudden we are seeing that the turnover. It's not commensurate with the profile. Then I think that should be a red flag, so to speak. So in terms of also the in terms of the internal fraud, the way we started earlier,
yes,
it's good to mention that organizations need to be very, very, very keen on their people,
yes,
the internal staff, because as I said, that's the biggest threat.
It is known. The Swahili said kikulacho king huoni mwako.
It's a fact. So they need to first of all check on the maybe do lifestyle audit.
Yeah.
For their staff. They need to see behavioral patterns. Of these people. And of course you have seen even from the Operation of Fraud 2024 by ACFE, the report to the nations. So the biggest threat, it is on record, is the internal involvement, because the person who can destroy an organization is a person who are inside.
Exactly.
Because they have access to databases, they have access to customer information, they know the balance the customers are having. Even when they're transacting as this, I mean, even if you are authorized to do that, for example. But you see, there's a thin line. Like now we have been seeing organizations that have been having staff working from home. During
COVID, it became now a culture of working from home, working remotely.
So and of course you don't know that person behind the scenes, whereby you cannot see the person. What is he or she doing?
Even the network that they are using, the home network.
And as I said about, because of the technology and the way it can be even be tapped. I mean, Wi-Fi that we use from all over. I mean, public places, for example, or Wi-Fi that are shared in a let's say in an estate. So it's going to be complex, and you have to keep up with this continuous. Trainings, continuous, knowing what are the trends, trying to research, see what's happening, and of course that information is available. We can, there are various organizations that can give you that information to see. This is the fraud that we are seeing, that it will still come to your country.
Exactly. If you were to advise, the next generation, the upcoming people who are enthusiastic about safety, security, and specifically on matters fraud, what are two things you'll tell them? Somebody is looking at Mr. Charles Mahina and is saying, I want to be like this man. What can you tell them?
In terms of
looking at, security, in terms of becoming a CFE like yourself, and more accreditations onto it. What does it take to be like yourself?
So you're talking about the career aspect of those the people. The upcoming generation. Of course, I've just mentioned. Of course, currently, we are going to. I said we are going to artificial intelligence. And of course, even fraud will go that route. Frauds will go that route. So I think it's a high time I would advise the generation that behind us to maybe first of all they choose wisely in terms of what they need to do, because I think for me this is a passion that I like doing, because as I told you, I've been in this for 15 plus years, so I think I enjoy doing because I need to keep up with what's happening, and what is happening. I like complex things, because I don't want to do a fraud case that I was looking for like yesterday. I like in fact I call them a research, because I like seeing new things, and of course try to think what that fraud is thinking. So to come into that generation is just to try to equip them with the right skills. We need to have the future skills. To be able to now be ahead of because you should be ahead of the fraudster. So they need to equip themselves in terms of cyber security, hacking. We have those courses in certified ethical hacking, whereby you are able to tell now you can. Assuming you are a fraudster, you want to penetrate to a system. What are the gaps? What can you do? Pen test at etc. So of course I would tell people to work on. Because now the fraud is going to another level. It's going to be technical. To be tech. It's now
more of tech
than the normal that I mentioned earlier. It will be paper frauds now. You don't find it. Robberies where people come into the bank and steal. You don't find it. It's about now somebody seated in a laptop, putting a malware, and the money is gone. Or you find an ATM spitting money. For example, so they need to equip the right courses, the right skills. Even for us, continue updating ourselves of what is happening. Yeah, of course we have these credentials certified for the examiner. I mean, it has the various 4 aspects. It has law. It has fraud deterrence and detection, and of course we have the investigation aspect. It tells you what to do, how to do a good investigation report and etc. Yep.
So we have a culture at the Crimeshield podcast where we have a black book.
Yes.
So this black book has questions that even myself I haven't seen.
Yes.
So every guest that comes answers to that question.
Yes.
And then now the guest also puts in a question for
Yes.
the next guest who will be coming.
Yeah, okay.
So I think the black book can be brought so that I can look at the question and then now ask. So this is what our guest asked.
Thanks.
The guest asked this: what is the worst experience? And my guests are usually very fat.
Yes.
So this guest asked, what is the worst experience you've ever had using public transport?
Yeah, it's a good question and very funny. So of course the worst scenario I had ever experienced on a public transport. I was coming from in Pangani, Nairobi, coming to town some years back. So of course a matatu just came in. Of course people were scrambling for the seats, and of course I was late for work. So when I got in, so this matatu was this structured matatus which are the circles there, the 2NK circle, for example. I think it was at 2NK circle. So of course they don't have the matatu was coming from where it had I think it was a Monday morning. So it was from the parking area. So of course it had on the driver. So of course the driver asked one of the guys, you can collect the money from the passengers. So when we came all the way to KCD, that is just before Ngara. So of course I had given the conductor 1,000. So the conductor now, you're asking for change. So the guy went out to start, because he was not a designated makanga or the conductor for that matter. So what he did, he went out with our cash. He never came back. So even the driver, we are seated there waiting for the guy to come back. So he never came back with our change. And of course he told us, no, I mean, you cannot make noise to me because I mean, you guys entered the matatu, you are right, so you should have gotten the correct money too. So that guy never came back because nobody even knew him anyway.
I think that's also another form of fraud, probably insider.
But they were not together with the driver. I can't say they were not together because I didn't investigate that. I didn't check to see whether there's any linkages. But that's how my money went.
Alikula fair.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to anyone starting a career path? What is the one advice you give them? Yeah,
of course, one advice I could give is resilience. And of course, I mean, you don't start from the top. Of course, you start from everybody started from the low place. So of course, when you are given a task, even the guys who are the experts in everything, they started from somewhere, and of course they were able to, I mean, to follow the guidance of the person who was guiding them, for example.
To where they are. Thanks. So now it's your chance to also write a question, as I also speak to the people.
Okay. So
Tanika to the whole page to up. So just put in a question. So I'm not supposed to see it. Okay, thank you. This one I won't even see it. I'll just take it back as it is. And there we have it, guys. That was all for the Crimeshield podcast, and we've heard it from our guest. He's brought in a ton of experience on how you can be a target for fraud and how you can be able to also safeguard yourself. We've talked about insider, we've talked about scheming, we've talked about looking at dormant accounts, being out there, you never know. Ask your parents, if they have dormant accounts. It's important for you to know so that you don't fall victim of fraudsters. As always, feel free to share, like, and subscribe. Put your thoughts in the comments below to understand more about anything safety, and for this particular episode, about fraud. And as always, keep it Crimeshield and see you next time.
Thank you so much.